Making headlines, President proposes Ahmad Sarir as the permanent representative of the Maldives to the Organization of Islamic Cooperation. Parliament advances President's nomination for Maldives non-resident ambassadors to Bhutan, Kuwait and the Swiss Federation to Parliamentary Committee for review. And IMF welcomes the Maldives economic reform agenda but urges to swiftly implement the austerity measures to improve fiscal and debt distress.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Good evening and welcome to PSM News in English. I'm your host Ahmad Imad and I'll be continuing with the details for this evening's stories. President Dr. Mohammad Muiz proposes Ahmad Sarir as the permanent representative of the Maldives to the Organization of Islamic Cooperation (OIC). This nomination was presented to Parliament on Wednesday. The parliamentary sitting saw the proposal referred to the Foreign Relations Committee for detailed examination and deliberation. Sarir, who currently serves as the ambassador of the Maldives to the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, is expected to take on this new role pending parliamentary approval. The OIC, founded in 1969, represents 57 member states, 48 of which are predominantly Muslim countries. The OIC's mission includes advocating for the protection of Muslims' interests globally and promoting international peace and harmony. In accordance with the Foreign Service Act, the President is required to secure parliamentary approval prior to appointing representatives to international organizations. Parliament advances President Dr. Mohammad Muiz's nominations for the Maldives non-resident ambassadors to Bhutan, Kuwait and the Swiss Federation to a parliamentary committee for review. The nominations were submitted to the Foreign Relations Committee of Parliament for examination during Wednesday's session. Pursuant to the Foreign Service Act, the President is mandated to obtain parliamentary approval before appointing ambassadors and high commissioners to the country's foreign missions. President Dr. Muiz proposed Shiunin Rashid as the non-resident ambassador to Bhutan. Rashid currently serves as the High Commissioner of Maldives to Bangladesh. For the position of non-resident ambassador to Kuwait, the President has put forward Ahmad Sarir, who presently holds the position of ambassador to Saudi Arabia. Dr. Salma Rashid is the third nominee, designated as the non-resident ambassador to the Swiss Federation. Rashid currently serves as the permanent representative of the Maldives to the United Nations in Geneva. These nominations will undergo scrutiny by the Parliament Foreign Relations Committee before being presented for a vote on the parliamentary floor. The International Monetary Fund (IMF) welcomes the Maldives' economic reform agenda, but urges the island nation to swiftly implement the austerity measures to improve its current fiscal and debt distress. The IMF team currently visiting the Maldives had briefed the Parliamentary Finance and Economic Affairs Joint Committee on its findings and observations on the Maldives' key economic developments.
The IMF team currently visiting the Maldives had briefed the Parliamentary Finance and Economic Affairs Joint Committee on its findings and observations on Maldives' key economic developments. IMF Mission Chief Phayphon Nikhilsodriwibun said Maldives' economy is expected to grow by 5% this year, primarily fueled by tourism growth further boosted by the imminent opening of the new passenger terminal of the Valana International Airport VIA. However, she warned that the delay in implementation of the economic reforms would cause both external and internal pressures and risks on the country's fiscal and debt sustainability. So she repeatedly urged the government to accelerate the implementation of the measure outlined in the economic reform agenda. Phayphon particularly highlighted reform subsidies, state-owned enterprises, the public health insurance scheme Asanda, and reprioritizing capital spending as significant steps towards a more resilient economy. During the sit-down, most committee members urged the IMF to provide the necessary expertise and assistance to assist the government in navigating out of the present economic difficulties. Some opposition lawmakers accused this administration of dragging out the implementation of the measures. Pierpont said the IMF believes that the incumbent government is committed to the fiscal reform agenda, but insisted that the implementation must be accelerated. The Ministry of Finance and Planning, meanwhile, has set up a special division to strengthen public finances, reduce expenditure, increase revenue, and implement fiscal reforms.
The government rolls out a strict regulation as it ramps up efforts to control tobacco use in the archipelago. The government said that the primary objective of the new tobacco control regulation is to protect the community from tobacco use, which is among the most toxic substances, and its safety limits have not been determined, leading to life-threatening diseases.
Objectives of the new regulation also includes making public places and workplaces smoke-free in order to ensure public health, promote well-being, and to help smokers to kick the habit. The Ministry of Health, through this regulation, has set stricter standards to be followed in the trade of tobacco products. The regulation also specifies the types of permits issued for tobacco trade, including ways in which such permits are issued and revoked. Under the new regulation, smoking is prohibited in mosques, schools, and public places. Smoking also has been banned in all government agencies, government companies, legal entities, state-owned companies, and all government or state buildings. The ban has been extended to inside the premises of such building, including balconies and their entrances. Smoking is also prohibited in all public transportation vehicles and places, public gatherings, in addition to public sports, exercise, entertainment, and recreation facilities. The new regulation includes rules for the establishment of smoking rooms or smoking areas, which must be designed in a way that do not pose a danger to the public and others, and do not promote smoking or tobacco use. According to the regulation, businesses dealing in tobacco products must obtain a separate business permit. It also prohibits the sale of tobacco products to a person or minor under the age of 21, which is extended to the use of a minor in the sale, import, export, and packaging. It also prohibits the sale of tobacco products to a person or minor under the age of 21, which is extended to the use of a minor in the sale, import, export, and packaging of tobacco products. Importers, re-exporters, wholesalers, and retailers of tobacco must possess special licenses issued separately by the Ministry of Health. The regulation has tightened the restriction on advertising, promotion, and sponsorship of tobacco products. The government has also included details on the packaging and labeling of tobacco products imported and sold in the Maldives, while specifying measures to be taken against violations. The list of penalties includes measures to be taken against those who violate the provisions in dealing with tobacco products, counterfeiters, illegal advertisers, and for violations of packaging and labeling regulations. The government has been taking landmark steps against tobacco use. One of the biggest measures was to increase the duty on imported cigarettes and the nationwide ban on use and sale of vape products.
Government appoints former Minister of Finance Dr. Ahmad Shafiq as the Chief Executive Officer, CEO of Maldives Industrial Development Free Zone, MIDFC. Shafiq, who served as the first Minister of Finance of this administration, was appointed as the Chairman of the Housing Development Finance Corporation HDFC shortly after his resignation from his ministerial post late last year. Shafiq told PSM News that he was appointed to MIDFC as its CEO in a dual capacity alongside his responsibilities at HDFC on 27 January. President Dr. Mohammad Muiz established MIDFC in early 2024 as a key driver of the economic diversification agenda of his administration. The company will engage in large-scale importation and re-export activities with a focus on developing free trade zones to optimize profits and foster international trade. MIDFC is a collaborative venture of 5 other state-owned companies, Maldives Airports Company Limited MACL, Maldives Ports Limited MPL, State Trading Organization STO, Maldives Transport and Contracting Company MTCC, and the Housing Development Corporation HDC. MIDFC has been designated as the master developer for the Maldives Economic Gateway integrated project in Ihawandipur, along with the Agricultural Economic Zone project. The government hands over the project to introduce a taxi line in the capital Male region to the state-owned Maldives Transport and Contracting Company MTCC. Director General of the Ministry of Transport and Civil Aviation Ahmad Shamim signed the agreement on behalf of the ministry to initiate an environmentally friendly taxi service, while MTCC's Managing Director Ahmad Saudi signed the agreement on behalf of the state-owned firm.
Speaking after the signing ceremony, the Minister of Transport and Civil, Muhammad Amin, said the taxi line will use 100% environmentally friendly electric vehicle EV taxis. The minister was quick to assure that the government taxi line would not adversely impact private taxi lines and cab drivers. According to the minister, MTCC will launch the new taxi line by the middle of the year, adding that it will open up opportunities for part-time and full-time cabbies. He said that the taxi service will be managed by MTCC through a software similar to Uber or Grab concept, and MTCC will manage it directly instead of the taxi drivers. According to him, people will be able to get a taxi within 2 minutes after requesting it. MTCC Managing Director Saudi said the opportunity to join the taxi line as a cabbier will be opened, adding that potential taxi drivers would need to pass a special awareness program before they will be allowed to drive for the new taxi line. The decision by the government to introduce its own taxi line comes at the back of mounting complaints of poor quality, high taxi fares, and unavailability of taxis in the capital Male region.
As President Donald Trump eyes a major deal on Ukraine's rare earths and critical minerals in return for U.S. support in the war against Russia, local operators at one of Europe's largest graphite deposits sees an opportunity. However, sites like central Ukraine's Zavalivsky graphite mine, an aging Soviet-era complex whose equipment was last modernized in 1965, are unlikely to return a quick profit for any American investor.
Ukraine's vast undersoil mineral wealth is at the heart of a joint partnership pitch made to Trump by President Vladimir Zelensky, who wants security guarantees as part of a deal to end the war. Trump has already responded with overt interest, saying he wants $500 billion worth of Ukrainian critical resources and dispatching his Treasury Secretary, Scott Bessent, to Kiev to meet Zelensky this week. But despite what Kiev says are trillions of dollars of untapped mineral wealth, industry analysts say in practice it could take years for investors to win back significant profits from a sector reeling from the war and chronic underinvestment. In an interview last week, Zelensky unfurled a map of Ukrainian minerals, including lithium, graphite, titanium, and rare earths, which are important for the manufacture of high-performance magnets, electric motors, and consumer electronics. He said that less than 20% of the country's resources, including about half its rare earth deposits, were under Russian occupation, and emphasized the need to help Ukraine protect what remains to stop it falling into the wrong hands. At the 90-year-old Zavalivsky graphite mine, CEO Ostap Kostyuk told Reuters he dreams of making graphite pure enough to use for lithium batteries, something he compared to trying to make a Rolls-Royce inside a garage, given the lack of investment.
Without stimulations, without investments, without support, we will stay countrymen who are producing Rolls-Royce in a garage.
The mine, which is hundreds of miles from the front, has been scrambling for resources since Russia's February 2022 invasion prompted its Australian partners to pull its financing. A number of his workers are also either serving in the military or were killed fighting for Ukraine. More immediately, Kotsyuk said his company could offer US consumers a supply of natural flake graphite while US firms probe for new deposits in Ukraine.
We know that our graphite can be used in high technologies. We're sure about that because we send our graphite in European and US laboratories. They make their own tests. We know that our graphite is possible to convert to graphene. It's the nanotechnologies, and 1 kilogram of graphene can cost thousands and $100,000.
New digging projects, whether for graphite or other critical minerals, could take at least 5 to 7 years before they begin to produce, he added. Standing among heavy machinery stained with graphite dust, Kotsyuk said his business, despite the setbacks, know how to leap forward.
US President Donald Trump and billionaire Tesla founder Elon Musk criticized the foreign aid agency USAID during a White House press conference, calling it incompetent and corrupt.
Musk, recently appointed head of the Department of Government Efficiency, acknowledged that USAID does some worthy things, but argued the agency does too much to influence elections in dubious ways that do not stand the light of day.
So that's something where we work closely with the State Department and Secretary Rubio. And we have, for example, turned on funding for Ebola prevention and for HIV prevention. Yes, correct. And we are moving fast, so we will make mistakes, but we'll also fix the mistakes very quickly. So,
do you see it as a worthy cause, USAID?
I think that there are some worthy things, but overall, if you say what was the bang for the buck, I would say it was not very good. And there was far too much of what USAID was doing was influencing elections in ways that I think were dubious and do not stand the light of day.
Trump responded by reaffirming his commitment to oversight, stating he was elected to ensure honesty in government. He added that his scrutiny would extend beyond USAID to areas like education and the military.
For the sake of the country, I hope that the person that's in charge and the other people that report to me that are in charge are allowed to do the right thing, namely make sure everything's honest, legitimate, and competent. But we're looking at just, when you look at USAID, that's one. We're going to look at the military, we're going to look at education. They're much bigger areas. But the USAID is really corrupt. I'll tell you, it's corrupt. It's incompetent, and it's really corrupt. And I can't imagine a judge saying, well, it may be corrupt, but you don't have the right. You got elected to look over the country and to, as we say, make America great again, but you don't have the right to go and look and see whether or not things are right that they're paying or that things are honest that they're paying.
As the chief U.S. humanitarian agency, USAID became the first target of Musk's effort to downsize the federal government. Trump's January 20th order to freeze most U.S. foreign aid, aligning with his America First policy, halted hundreds of programs worth billions of dollars in global aid. Following the order, USAID staff were placed on leave, instructed not to report to headquarters, and its signage was removed or covered. The agency's website went offline, and Secretary of State Marco Rubio was appointed acting administrator.
China's military deploys naval and air forces around Taiwan for combat readiness patrols and training missions.
Video aired by China's state broadcaster CCTV showed Chinese naval ships dispatched by the Eastern Theater Command moving at sea and fighter jets taking off. The military drills were held after 2 U.S. Navy ships sailed through the sensitive Taiwan Strait this week in the first such mission since President Donald Trump took office last month, drawing an angry reaction from China, which said the mission increased security risks. The U.S. Navy, occasionally accompanied by ships from allied countries, transits the strait about once a month. China, which claims Taiwan as its own territory, says the strategic waterway belongs to it. Taiwan's defense ministry said its forces had also kept watch, but noted the situation is normal.
World number 1 Aryna Sabalenka is knocked out of the Qatar Open after losing a third set tiebreak on a day of upsets for seeded players.
The Australian Open runner-up won the first set comfortably 6-3 against Ekaterina Alexandrova, but the Russian hit back in the second set to force it to a decider. No sooner had Sabalenka earned a break-point lead, Alexandrova broke back and the final set went to a tiebreak. The Belarusian saved 2 match points before Alexandrova finally claimed a victory to move into the last 16. Marta Kostyuk of Ukraine capitalized on 39 unforced errors to oust number 3 seed Coco Gauff 6-2, 7-5 in the second round. The 22-year-old unseeded Kostyuk won 58% of the total points, broke Gauff's serve 4 times and benefited from 7 double faults from the former US Open champion. Tunisia's Ons Jabeur eliminated number 7 seeded Qinwen Zheng of China 6-4, 6-2, breaking Zheng's serve 6 times and winning 70% of her first serve points.
A team of scientists from the California Institute of Technology, Caltech, develops a novel type of minuscule robot for targeted drug delivery.
The micro-robots, called bioresorbable acoustic micro-robots BAM, are built from a hydrogel known as polyethylene glycol diacrylate and are capable of operating in bodily fluids, being controlled for precise delivery and releasing their medicinal cargo only when they reach their target. Wei Gao, professor of medical engineering at Caltech, says that micro-nanorobots have the high potential to navigate us through the hard-to-reach environment of the human body for precision surgery or drug delivery.
Micro-nanorobots have the high potential to navigate us through the hard-to-reach environment of the human body for precision surgery or drug delivery.
The micro-robots can vary in size but are roughly 30 micrometers in diameter, smaller than the width of a human hair. They were created using 2-photon polymerization, TPP lithography, an advanced technique that enables structures to be built layer by layer with high precision.
So in this work, we presented this bioresorbable hydrogel microrobot. We can actually fabricate this microrobot using 2-photon polymerization. It's scalable manufacturing. And this microrobot, through surface modification and structure design, they can display very efficient propulsion in complex environment, including human blood, urine, GI fluid.
The micro-robots also incorporate magnetic nanoparticles and the therapeutic drug within their exterior structure. Utilizing advanced ultrasound imaging techniques, the researchers were able to precisely track and guide these micro-robots in real time, allowing them to be directed to a desired location using an external magnetic field and to passively release the drug once they reach their target. And once they have done their job, the micro-robots can be absorbed by the body without causing harm.
To enable precise control, we actually incorporated the magnetic nanoparticles in the micro-nanostructure design, so that when we print these micro-robots, magnetic nanoparticles will get entrapped inside the structures. So eventually, using external magnetic field, we can precisely control the propulsion direction of this micro-robot.
The team demonstrated the efficiency of these micro-robots in mice with bladder tumors. After 4 therapeutic deliveries over 21 days, the robots were more effective at shrinking tumors than a therapeutic not delivered by robots.
And that wraps up the news for this evening. Thank you for tuning in to PSN News. We hope you have a pleasant evening.